Let's be honest. Shopping, not my thing. I go to the store. There's a lot of people there. It's just not my thing. It's not football. All right. I spend way too long scrolling websites just looking for something simple like a nice pair of jeans. And I'm either overwhelmed by all the choices or can't find anything my style and end up with stuff that doesn't fit and doesn't work. That's why I use Stitch Fix. You just take a quick style quiz, share your size, your vibe, and your budget, and boom, you're matched with a real human stylists who handle the rest. They take care of the work for you. They send you a fix box with clothes that actually fit and make sense for your life, work, weekends, whatever. It saves you time. You look great, and you don't even have to think about it. That's the best part. It's no risk, all style. Try it all on in the comfort of your home. Keep what works, send back the rest. Free shipping and returns, always, and no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at stitchfix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and they'll waive your styling fee. That's stitchfix.com/podcast.
Listen, life's all about leveling up. Whether you're handling business on the field or kicking it in your zone, you like to celebrate with cigars that match the moment. That's why you should link up with Famous Cigars to bring you a wild deal. Right now, you can grab 8 premium cigars for just $8. You heard that right. 8 top-rated cigars at $1 a stick. Top quality brands like Oliva, Romeo y Julieta, and Davidoff. Handpicked just for you and worth over $80. Hit up famouscigars.com/cam and lock in this exclusive deal. While you're there, check out their insane selection of premium cigars, all shipped fresh and fast from their massive 20,000 square foot humidor. That's half a football field. Famous Cigars has been in the game since 1939 and still family owned. So celebrate every win with the folks at Famous. 8 cigars for $8. famouscigars.com/cam.
What's up, y'all? It's Drewski, and I've teamed up with Mountain Dew to produce a hilarious new basketball podcast called The Dew Zone with Drewski. Learn the backstories of your favorite ballers and celebrities like Jamal Murray.
Did you have like a favorite team? Was it the Raptors at the time or no? Was the Raptors even started around that time?
Come on, bro. I ain't that old, fam. You talking like I was 50.
Taylor Rooks, Asia Wilson, and many more. You won't want to miss this. Listen to The Dew Zone with Drewski on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts.
The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to The Timeline, a Phoenix Suns podcast / YouTube channel. My name is Mike.
Man.
I'm here with Sam. Sam, how you doing?
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike. It's 12:45 in the morning now. We're trying to get this. We're trying to get this up and running. I'm doing great because the Suns just won a basketball game. They scraped by. If this were a normal podcast, I would say we have a lot to talk about. But the premise of what we're doing here on the YouTube channel, it's still going to go on our podcast feed later. But the premise is a little bit different. Why don't you break it down for the people?
I mean, the idea is that it's going to be kind of like a post-game radio show where we come on and talk to you guys and take your questions about the team, about the game, maybe in place of mailbags, because it's just more direct interaction with you guys, and that's the idea around this. So, obviously, you guys are here in the chat. We'll take questions from you. We already got one, and I like it, actually. John Reyes says, Mike, you need to address your Ayton isn't ready to win take. I'm glad to. I'm glad to address that.
Okay.
The key with DeAndre Ayton is consistency. It's always going to be consistency. He was amazing today. I think it was his best game of his career. Do you agree with that, Sam, just from that take alone?
Yeah, I mean, look, recency bias is a thing. So, I think when I'm in a more clear
5
state
blocks
of mind tomorrow.
though.
I'll think about it. No, but I think my initial take is that this was the best game of DeAndre Ayton's career. I'm looking at the box score. So just so you guys at home know how the setup is working here. If you have a question, it kind of has to go to Mike because he's the only one who can see the YouTube chat. I'm sharing my screen here just in case we have any stats. We kind of want to look. And in the box score here, DeAndre Ayton, 26 points, 17 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 blocks, lockdown defense. Sincerely, it's not just about DeAndre Ayton. Like him and Mikal Bridges tonight as a defensive tandem, you really saw the full potential of just how terrifying those two are, because the only way that Houston was going to win this game was on the backs of Victor Oladipo and Christian Wood.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges and Ayton were the guys, the direct assignments for those two guys tonight, and they shut them both down. It was incredible.
Yeah. And with DeAndre Ayton, just to address the question initially, with DeAndre Ayton, the key is for him to be consistently great. I never doubted that he can have great games, and multiple great games in a row is great. If he can continue to show this specific type of game over and over again, not necessarily these stats. It can be unfair. I think it's unfair for most players to expect any like specific level of stats in a game because you're setting them up for some kind of failure. But the type of play, protecting the rim that he was, not shooting shots outside of the paint unless it's from the 3-point line, that's exactly what we want of him. And dribbling, like he had a few moments of actually dribbling basket, getting to the line. Those are all things that we've been asking for. So if he can continue to do that, then it's great. But it's just about being consistent.
Yeah, it's about the dribbling. It's about the aggression, like you said. I mean, the last game, I've got his game log pulled up right here. It hasn't updated, obviously, for tonight yet because it's Basketball Reference. It won't update till tomorrow morning. But 18 points. He only had 18 points in the last game. Obviously, that's good. But it's like, I guess it's just important to note the bar isn't – we've never set a very high statistical bar for DeAndre Ayton because it's not about that. It's about a lot of the stuff that automatically see in a stat sheet. Now, some of the stuff you can see in a stat sheet. It's always nice to have more blocks. It's always nice that he's one of the best rebounders in the NBA, and that's very clear already. But he can have 16, 18 points and still dominate a game. And we've seen those from him before, too. It doesn't have to be 25 like he had tonight. That being said, the other thing I think you can see in the box score here, he's already had one really good 2-game stretch this season. He had 22 points and 11 against Denver, and then he followed it up with 24 and 8 against the
Sam,
really good back-to-back.
Oh, there you are. We lost you for a second there.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry. My internet connection might be a little bit spotty. What was the last thing you heard from me?
I'm not sure.
That's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine. The point is, consistency is the key for DeAndre Ayton. He showed it tonight.
Somebody, Mr. Storm 2000 said, let's see. Actually, no, Anton said, glaring team stats, 25% from 3 and 17 turnovers, 2 big areas of improvement for this game. I like that. What I actually wanted to say about that specific thing is that there are times when the Suns will go up there are times in this season where the Suns have gone up by big numbers, and so much of that has been based on 3-pointers just dropping over and over and over again. And I do feel like that in this game, the fact that they were able to pull up by so much without relying on the 3-pointers, to me, pointed to more actual chemistry growing than before, because any team can hit a bunch of threes in a game. But to be able to actually build on a lead and do really well, even if they had some trouble closing out the game at the end there, to be able to build that lead without hitting a ton of threes, I thought was really impressive and something that's really important for this team. They can't just rely on 3-pointers dropping over and over and over again. I want them to take a lot of threes. I think that's important. But I think to be able to hit those, to be able to hit shots outside of that is important. And I thought they did a good job of that tonight. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, when you look at a box score, any box score, 3-point shooting and turnovers are going to be the two of the first things that you look, where it's like if you do well in those areas, you're more likely to win the game. For the Suns to win a game where they shot 24% from deep and had 17 turnovers, that's really impressive. And to me, with what I saw specifically tonight, I think what it shows is that they saw exploitable aspects of Houston's system, and they were able to successfully exploit that. Houston was not a disciplined defensive team. The Suns are not, we know the Suns are not a team that get to the free throw line a whole lot.
Yeah.
But tonight they got to the free throw line. They made the most of their opportunities. They got Houston to bite and for them to do some stupid closeouts where they fouled jump shooters. And the other thing that I think we saw today, Mike, is that they pushed the pace a little bit more.
Right.
And that really matters. And, with a team like Houston that was not that disciplined defensively, they've got athletes for sure, but their team concept is what I'm talking about when I say it was a little bit more exploitable. They didn't get back on defense, and the Suns noticed that, and they were able to effectively punish them in transition. That's not something that we've necessarily seen from the Suns in the past. And look, I think the Suns are still going to be a slower team this year, and I think they can still succeed as generally a slower team. But knowing when to turn it on and off and shift into a higher gear and push the pace a little bit is really important, and it definitely helped them tonight.
Yeah. I agree with that. We got a couple questions, and forgive me, guys, the chat's moving pretty quick here, so if I miss your name or something like that, I apologize. I'm doing my best to keep up here. First of all, thank you, everyone, for watching live. This is great. We've never done this before, so we appreciate you being here with us. Some people were asking about the starting lineup. Should Cameron Johnson stay in the starting lineup, or should Jay Crowder switch back into that starting lineup role? And I think there's something to that a little bit. First, I'd say I actually like Cameron Johnson. I'd like to keep doing this for a while, specifically because he's capable of pushing the pace in ways that Jay Crowder can't. Jay Crowder gets the rebound. He's most likely going to look for Chris Paul or Devin Booker and give them the ball as quickly as possible, let them dribble it up, which is fine. And that's something that I would want him to do, just thinking about the flow of the game. Cameron Johnson gets the rebound. He's off down the court as fast as possible. But the one thing I will say, and I want to give a shout out to David Nash because I thought he did a really good job writing about this, Jay Crowder does really well when he's wide open.
Yeah.
And outside of the starting lineup, he's going to struggle being wide open. Those shots are not going to be as easy for him. He has done a good job of finding other people and setting other people up with some nice passes, but I think there is something that could struggle. But I think with that bench lineup, the reason I like it, and I think it'll be fine, is the defense is, I think, going to be what carries it. I do want to talk about the bench a little bit more, but before we move on to that starting lineup, what do you think after 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, can I be honest and say that I don't think I have a major opinion either way? I think it can work either way because I think that was never the issue. But what I will say about Jay, to echo your point about the shooting, I've seen a lot of sets from the Suns in the past couple games where it kind of feels like he's in that power forward slot and he's setting a screen at the top of the key and then he's popping out to take those sort of top of the key above the break threes. And a lot of them end up contested like you would see from Cam Johnson. And if it's Cam Johnson taking that shot, it's a good shot. But if it's Jay Crowder taking that shot, I don't really think he's designed to play like that. And I'm not going to say that that's the entire reason. He shot 2 for 10 from deep tonight. I don't think that's the entire reason he did that, but I do think it is a factor. He's definitely a guy we know just kind of from his career. He takes those above the break contested threes. Maybe that's a 32% shot. You can live with it. He takes open corner threes. That's more like a 40 to 45% shot for his career. So you definitely kind of want to try to find ways to optimize him. But also to your point, I mean, the defense does improve when you put Jay Crowder in the game, no doubt. He's consistently, I think, maybe the Suns' best help team defender. I think wouldn't be a stretch to call him that. So he obviously has his own merit and value over Cam.
Something interesting, I think, happened with the bench in this game, and it's related. Somebody's asking about our thoughts on Chris Paul's performance in this game. Statistically, nothing super impressive, but there was something that happened in this game that I thought was interesting. It was Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton minutes with what I just called wings. And they were varying wings. At times it was Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, and Abdel Nader, who was not terrible in this game. Other times it was Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, and Jay Crowder. And I thought that was especially interesting because if DeAndre Ayton continues to be as aggressive as he is currently being, you can build an effective offense around Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton pick and rolls as long as as long as they have guys that are reliable 3-point shooters outside of that. And there were times this season where Langston Galloway would come in the game and just light up the court with 3-pointers. He's got that insanely fast release. He's able to get shots off as quickly as possible. That's been great. But what happened in this game is Langston Galloway did not play at all. And what they did instead of that, I'm not sure if anything else is going on with Langston. Maybe we'll hear something about that in the postgame thing. But what they did instead of that is they played these bench lineups with 3 bigger guys, with DeAndre Ayton and Chris Paul in there. Oh, looks like I lost Sam. Hopefully he can get back in here. And I thought that was especially interesting because what they were able to do with that specific lineup is they can keep the defense going really well. And with the defense actually pretty good, they're capable of keeping that defense going as good as possible. I think that's really impressive. It's difficult to keep Langston Galloway in the game as good as he has been offensively. I think he has struggled defensively. It's tough for him to guard some guys, but I think the bench, it's easy to talk about what the bench is doing right now, but I think a lot of that is going to change once Dario Saric is back and healthy. So that's the important thing. It looks like Sam lost his internet, so I'm going to go solo a little while here, guys. We'll see if Sam's internet comes back. Sam is in New York, so he's relying on different internet than I am here. I still would like to take some of your guys' questions. I'll go solo for a while here. Nothing I'm used to, but hey, we'll give it a try. Someone said they'd take Alex Len over Frank and Jones. I get that. I do think that Frank Kaminsky has not been as terrible on defense this year as he was last year. I'm not sure if that's going to be entirely sustainable. I also think Frank Kaminsky is capable of doing things on offense that Alex Len was not. For example, Frank Kaminsky was actually averaging more drives than DeAndre Ayton before the last 2 games. And even if Frank Kaminsky's drives do look kind of ugly, I do think they still help the team out a little more than Alex Len's inability to drive would, even if his defense has been pretty good. Alex Len over Damian Jones, I think, is a pretty good discussion. That's something that I don't completely hate.
The economy is made up of real people doing real stuff, and it affects everything, which you obviously know since you're a real person doing real stuff. Marketplace is here to help you get smart about everything beyond the what of the day's business and economic news. We dig into the how and the why with the real people driving our economy. From big tech and interest rates to small businesses and what's happening at the Fed, Marketplace breaks it all down so you don't have to. Listen to Marketplace wherever you get your podcasts.
Steve Shoemate, forgive me guys if I'm pronouncing your names wrong, said any comments on the pace tonight? I liked the pace tonight. I thought they made a distinct effort to play faster, and that was important for the team to play a little bit faster. I thought it was smart for them to play faster. The one thing I will say, to start this game out, there was a lot of sloppy turnovers, and those turnovers were by Chris Paul, and they were by Devin Booker. When Chris Paul and Devin Booker get turnovers like that, it's ugly. If those turnovers were a result of trying to speed up the game a little bit, I liked it. I want them to play a little bit faster. If I said it on Twitter, if that means that the sort of learning curve for this is going to be a few extra turnovers due to speeding up the pace a little bit, I think in the long run, that's going to be worth it. So I think that may have happened in this game a little bit. All right, let's see. We should make Jalen our backup center and Dario our power forward off the bench. We have not gotten a chance to see Jalen Smith and Dario Saric. Thank you, Antonio, for the question, by the way. We have not gotten a chance to see Dario Saric and Jalen Smith play together yet, really, because Jalen Smith has been sick. I actually really like the idea of Jalen Smith and Dario playing together. Dario Saric, one of the reasons he benefited in the bubble and played so well in the bubble was because of 5 out. I think we'll commonly attribute that on this podcast to playing center because in a sense he has been playing center, but if you watch a lot of the highlights from the bubble, what you'll notice is that Dario is also playing with Frank Kaminsky in those minutes in the bubble. And I think the reason it worked with Frank Kaminsky is Frank Kaminsky doesn't need to be under the rim for his offense to be effective. He can be behind the 3-point line. So Jalen Smith, his ability to shoot could actually help with that. So it looks like Sam's trying to get back in here. Let me try and get him in. All right. Sam, are you here? Oh, there he is. Sam, can you hear me?
Free me.
Look at
Yo,
you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. I have no idea what happened. My internet went out for a second. I'm back. What's going on?
Well, I before we do anything else, I want to give a shout out to John Bloom, who actually does radio by himself a lot, because what I just did now, sort of juggling everything on my own here, it's not easy. So shout out to him.
John's a legend.
Yeah, shout out to him. Let's see. Anyone else have any questions now that Sam is back? Sam, if you have anything to share, you can. If you just want to keep it like this, it's fine. It's just got our Twitter pictures here.
This is fine. Okay, this is fine with me.
Okay, cool.
Probably keep it simple.
Let's see. Saric should average 5 free throw attempts a game. Dude gets no calls in his favor. This is honestly Saric not getting calls is one of the things I love to get on my soapbox about, because Saric, he pump fakes, he gets hit, he doesn't get those calls often. I actually do think he should average more free throws a game. Something somebody asked about, Sam, while you were gone, is Jalen Smith and Dario Saric playing together. I think the point I made, and I wonder if you agree with this, because you did just recently do that great Dario Saric video. If you haven't watched it, if you're a new subscriber to our YouTube channel, check out our video on Dario Saric that posted recently. Sam did all the work. I don't know why I'm saying our. But something I said that I think is I'd like to hear your thoughts on is, we commonly attribute Saric finding himself in the bubble to playing center, but I think a lot more of that has to do with playing 5 out, because if you watch some of the highlights in the bubble, you'll see that he actually was on the court with Frank Kaminsky for some of those minutes, maybe not a lot of them. I know we can look up those stats. What do you think about that?
No, I think you're 100% right. It's not just about playing center. And I think some people got the impression from that video that I was saying he should only be a center going forward. That's not what I'm saying at all. He's a hybrid, which is a good thing. He can still play power forward. And I think Jalen Smith playing center is the type of pairing that would work potentially. I mean, look, from everything I know about Jalen, he may be still a ways away from just returning to the court in the first place and then looking good. I mean, he may have been pretty sick. I have no idea, obviously, but it's just, so I wouldn't bank on seeing that pairing together necessarily anytime in the super near future, but eventually I would like to, because I definitely think it could work. Can I quickly get on my soapbox about something?
Yeah.
Not even my soapbox. Did anyone ask about Langston Galloway?
No, but
else?
I talked about him a little bit, but
is anyone else wondering out there? Again, I can't see the chat. Sorry, guys. But is anyone else wondering why Langston Galloway didn't play? Because he wasn't on the injury report. And I thought Abdel Nader, by the way, played pretty well. Yeah. I don't know if anyone asked about that either. But Langston is a sharpshooter. I mean, he had that game a couple games ago where he came in, he dropped like 17 points in 3 minutes or something ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, that's a guy who I think deserves a surefire spot in the rotation, even if it's only 10 to 12 spot minutes, hit a few threes, especially on a night like tonight where he shot 26% from deep. I'm curious if any of the reporters asked Monty about that. I didn't see it, because I understand it's not like super important. But yeah, it's just interesting. Stood out to me for sure.
My theory that I had while you were gone was defense. I think that he actually struggled quite a bit defensively recently, and I think that they kind of sacrificed that offense for a little more defense around Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. So that's my theory. I don't know. I wonder if they asked that as well. Somebody asked a really interesting question. Let me see. I'm sorry if I missed your name. Oh, Rocket Doggy. Rocket Doggy asked, who's been the best player so far this year? I actually find that to be a really interesting question, because Devin Booker struggled, Chris Paul struggled, DeAndre Ayton struggled now, back-to-back excellent games, making a case for him. Mikal Bridges has had games where he looks like the best player. And I guess that's really the only 4 guys that can probably be in that conversation, I would say. What do you think?
I don't know, man. I think the system doesn't survive without Chris Paul and Devin Booker, but neither of them have looked like themselves. I'm almost tempted to say Mikal Bridges. And it's hard because I don't think it's a fair apples to apples comparison when you compare any of these guys. Like Mikal Bridges is getting easier looks objectively than Devin Booker and Chris Paul.
Right.
The reason Mikal Bridges, it is nice, don't get me wrong, it's nice that he takes guys off the dribble sometimes now, but the reason Mikal still gets most of his shots open from the wing or the corner is because someone else is creating that for him. So in a way, it's not fair, but he's shooting really well. And Oladipo went, let me go to the box score again real quick. Oladipo went 7 of 22 tonight. That was Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm still, but if it's anyone, it's really close. Let me ask you this. CJ McCollum just went down. He's going to be out for a while. James Harden just got traded from Houston. Obviously, Clay's out the whole year. It feels to me, and this is something I tweeted out the other day, it feels like Devin Booker is a gift-wrapped all-star spot. But he needs to deserve it a little bit, like it really wouldn't be hard for him to be an all-star this year if the Suns are good. But right now, I don't even know he needs to just cut down on the turnovers a little bit, average like 23, 24 points per game, maybe. Right now, he's close to like 21, 22. I don't know. I don't know what you think about that, but it feels like it would be easier. Devin Booker has been snubbed much harder before than he would be this year. But he does have to kind of earn it.
If the Suns can continue to be well above 500 and in the playoff conversation, basically 6 seed or above, and he's averaging over 20 points, he's going to get the All-Star nod, I think.
No.
Like I'm not super worried about that. I don't think there's a statistical case to say that Chris Paul deserves it at this point. There's sort of a legacy case to say that
he could get there.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, all it takes is,
5 or 6 good games. Yeah.
If Chris Paul gets up to averaging 16 and 9, and Booker's averaging 20 and 4, those are pretty mediocre stats, I think, for these guys for what we were expecting from them. But It doesn't really matter when you're 8 and 5, as long as you're winning games. Who the hell cares what their stats are at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. I wonder if there could be, if DeAndre Ayton can keep this up, if there could be some sort of case for him to make the All-Star team at some point if he continues to be really good. Someone named, I think, Patch said, Which non-Suns player have you guys enjoyed to watch a lot of lately? I have 2 guys that come to mind. I'll give you a second to think about it. Sam, Colin Sexton, who had an insane game tonight, so it's a good night to talk about him, I think has been absolutely amazing. I think it's kind of fascinating to watch the Cleveland team because Cleveland is based on, like, their entire system is 2 small guards. Like I don't think either one of those guys are like above 6'2.5", maybe.
Yeah.
And to have a team that is playing that well with 2 tiny guys kind of leading the way is fascinating. And I think what that takes is good shooting, but also I think Colin Sexton playing bigger than he is because he's so aggressive defensively is what allows them to do that. So I think he's been one guy for me. The other guy is Shea in OKC, SGA. I love the way he plays. I actually think watching OKC last year was fascinating because although Chris Paul was on the team and made them really good, and Dennis Schroeder was on the team and it made them really good, that's what allowed them to be so good, that 3-guard lineup that they can run. It did make me think about Devin Booker's development. And there was a period of time when Devin Booker was developing that we were able to give him the ball and allow him to run 50 pick and rolls a game, and it was okay if he had 9 turnovers at the end of the game because the Suns weren't going to win a ton of games at the end of the season. And that sort of struggle allowed him to get better over time. And I just kind of wished that we were able to see that out of SGA, and we now are. And it turns out after that year with Chris Paul and after that year with Dennis Schroeder, it's going really well. SGA has been really good this season. I like guards, so those are my 2 guys that I first think of. That they're sort of the most fun to watch, but Jokic is also in there for me. What do you think, Sam?
I'll contrast you. I'll go with a couple bigs. Jeremy Grant is a guy I watched a lot of last year, and I profiled right here on our very own YouTube channel. And he's the guy who's made me eat my words the most. I think Suns fans saw it up close when we lost to the Pistons. A lot of people were expecting us to steamroll that team. And Jeremy Grant, the first 5 or 6 games, just for the background context, he's averaging more points per game than any of the superstars in LA, right? So more than LeBron, more than AD, more than Kawhi, more than PG, which right there is insane. And the first 5 or 6 games that I saw it happening, I was like, this has to be, there's no way it's going to regress. He's just getting lucky with his 3-point shot. Something's fishy here. And now we're 12 games in, and the Pistons aren't good because they don't have a talented roster, but they are good when Jeremy Grant is on the floor. And, I'm a very firm believer, being a Suns fan, and I think you have to be if you're a Suns fan and you've watched the past several years, in defending the players who are on bad teams, but who make their teams better when they're on the floor. And I think there's increasingly a case for Jeremy Grant that he's that guy, to the point where, I've read some good analysis. I follow a lot of Pistons people that I like online. And I read one analysis today of just he's grown exponentially as an isolation scorer because he's such an athletic guy. Mm-hmm. But in the past, when he was in Denver and in other teams, you weren't really able to trust his handle. Well, he seems to have tightened up his handle enough that he feels comfortable dribbling the ball and really scoring in those ISO situations. And it's just interesting. The reason it's so interesting to me, Mike, is here you have a guy who's averaging like 25 and 6. He's like maybe 26, 27 years old. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but it kind of turns around everything I've ever known about player development, because there's just always this belief that you're 5-6 years into your career, you were drafted as this raw guy who wasn't really expected to score in that way. He bet on himself. He took a big swing. Everyone mocked the acquisition that Detroit made over the offseason. Yeah. And look, we're only 12 games in, but it looks like it's paid off, and it looks like he can actually do this thing, which I think that's just, there's something very admirable about that. And another guy I want to just throw a shout to is Nikola Vucevic out in Orlando. I think some people, Max Hodder asked me on Twitter, I don't know if he's in the chat, but he asked me on Twitter before we went live on this thing, if DeAndre Ayton keeps playing like this, what sort of center would he be? Like where would he rank? Top 2, top 3, top 5?
Yeah, it's a fascinating question.
It's a question, and I think we can talk about it right now. But I think for him to get into that upper echelon, like for me, if Ayton keeps playing like this, he can easily soar past the guys who are one-dimensional centers that haven't proven that they can really survive in a playoff setting, right? Like a guy like Rudy Gobert, great defensive impact, but I'm not necessarily worried about him in comparison to Ayton if Ayton keeps playing like this. But there is that upper echelon of centers, and I think it's bigger than people expect. Obviously, it's got Embiid, and obviously, it's got Jokic. But the other two guys who I think would really make it hard for Ayton to be top 5, like he has to really prove that he's top 5, is Vucevic, who's averaging something like 23-10. He puts the ball on the floor. He gets assists. He's playing better defense this year. Kind of just commands that Orlando team inside and out. And Bam Adebayo, who obviously we saw in the finals last year, but increasingly adds to his pull-up game and his off the dribble shooting, which if he can master that, he's just like an amazing modern center in so many ways. So, I think when we have the conversation about Ayton's ceiling, where's his ceiling? I think it's top 5 center in the league for sure. But it's just not a given that he like outplays, guys like that. Like he has to really prove it. And those guys are doing it consistently. And Vooch in particular this is like his 10th year in the league or something. And he's just criminally underrated basically year in and year out. So I wanted to give him some respect.
Yeah, that was a good one. I think it's a weird year where for the first time in a long time, you could make the case that two centers are number 1 and number 2 in the MVP race right now in Embiid and Jokic. And it's tough to, if Ayton played like he did today every single game, then yeah, obviously he'd be in that conversation. But like I said, he's capable of having a great game without that kind of performance every single night. This is a funny one. Respect21 said Poku is Dragan Bender with the confidence of LeBron.
Yeah, I love that kid. I love him so much.
That's a good one. I lost the question, but somebody said if you're getting jumped in a dark alley and you had to pick one Suns player to defend you, who would it be? That's an interesting question. I think on the team right now, Jay Crowder, right?
Yeah, it's got to be Jay.
It's like
who's the toughest guy on this team? It's got to be Jay, right?
It's got to be Jay Crowder. I mean, Mikhail's got that reach.
Yeah, but Mikhail's a softie. I mean, I love Mikhail, but I think it's got to be Jay. Also, if you're getting jumped in a dark alley, chances are whoever's jumping you is still not going to be bigger than Jay Crowder. Like Jay Crowder is still a very large human.
Yeah, I agree about that. Any other questions from anybody before we take off? We're going to try and keep these to around half an hour. Try to make
I'm
it
glad
palatable.
I could jump in back here at the end. Sorry to leave you guys.
You let me ISO for a while. A few people are giving shout outs to Javon Carter, which I love.
Yeah.
And DeAndre Ayton, which I think we can once again repeat. And it's a good place to end it, actually. I think this was the best game of DeAndre Ayton's career, regardless of if it was the most points that he's ever scored. Consistently attacking the basket, not taking shots outside of the paint unless they're behind the three-point line, and then protecting the rim at all costs, finding ways to block shots without fouling. It's as good as it gets, and also an insanely high rebounding number. Just repeat again, Shaquille O'Neal said DeAndre Ayton should average 20 and 9. That's completely insane. DeAndre Ayton can average 12, 13, 14, 15 rebounds at some point in his career.
20 and 9 are bullshit Shaq and Phoenix numbers. He can do better than that.
Exactly.
That's fat Shaq, 37 years old. That's Shaqtus era. DA at his best can do that. But I'll tell you what, so 2 really good games in a row, arguably the best game of his career, as we've talked about. But good enough that I might want to make a YouTube analysis just about these games. I'm not sure yet.
It's important to point out, though, too, Xavier Tillman was guarding him in one. Christian Wood was guarding him another with a broken down Boogie. He needs to continue to do this well. I think he can do it against better bigs like Jokic or whoever's coming up next. But I do want to point that out because we need him to be consistent against the better bigs as well.
And that's exactly where I was going with it. It's the big guy. No. It's that guy. It's Jokic is that dude, and he's coming up next. And if DA rattles off a third great one in a row against an MVP candidate, then I'm going off to the moon with this hype campaign. But I'm gonna temper expectations until then. I don't think it's reasonable to go from this guy's been disappointing us all season to he's suddenly an MVP candidate in the span of 3 games. We're not going to do that. But yeah, I mean he's definitely he's been amazing. There's just nothing negative you can say about his performance over the past 2 games. It's been so refreshing to see.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for checking in with us on this stream. We appreciate you asking us questions. This was a great time. I think we'll work out some kinks a little better in the future.
Thanks for your patience.
But we appreciate you guys. This one will also be up on our podcast feed, so if you're listening there, we appreciate you guys listening as well. We'll be back with our normal podcast this weekend after a few more games, hopefully, and hopefully some other great games by DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker, as well as maybe Chris Paul kicking it into high gear here soon.
The episode we released 2 days ago, we still didn't get the good game from Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton at the same time.
That's right. Soon. We'll get it soon. I believe it.
One day.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Most people only see their doctor a few days each year. For all the other days, there's CVS Health Hub, where you can see a provider, fill a prescription, and grab the essentials you need in just one trip, even on evenings and weekends. For care between doctor visits, from earaches to help with diabetes or sleep apnea, visit your local CVS Health Hub today. That's healthier, made easier. Services vary by location. See cvs.com/healthhub for details.
This episode is brought to you by Ro. Confidence is everything. Women can sense it. And trust me, they love it. But if you're in your head worried about performance, that swag, unfortunately, gentlemen, it's gone. Ro Sparks keeps you ready. When the moment hits, you can step up like a superhero and handle your business. No doubt, just confidence.
Fellas, Ro Sparks gets you ready fast, dissolving under your tongue and working in 15 minutes on average. No waiting, no missing the moment, plus it stays active up to 36 hours.
So when the mood hits, you can go back to back to back, round after round after round. Ro connects guys with medical provider 100% online, so there's no awkward conversation with in-person providers. Go to ro.com/sparks to see if you qualify. If prescribed, new sexual health patients gets $15 off Sparks on reoccurring plan. Connect with the provider at ro.co/fourth to find out if prescriptions Ro Sparks are right for you. That's ro.co/fourth for $15 off your first order. If approved, treatment ships directly to their door. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, and or manufacturing review. For full safety information, go to ro.co/safety info.